This is the Venerable Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche seminar entitled Meditation in the Three Yanas, held at Naropa Institute in Boulder, Colorado. This is talk number 1, held June 11th, 1979. This is an ARP digital remaster made November 2007.
As promised, tonight we're going to have meditation instruction, and I'd like to introduce to you Lodro Dorje, who is head of Three Yana Studies at Vajradhatu, and is a special advisor to Naropa Institute and Nalanda Foundation on meditation. And he's going to speak for a few minutes and give you some basic guidelines for your sitting practice.
Well, sitting meditation is basically very simple and ordinary. But nonetheless, there are a few nuances which you would find helpful. To begin with, the sense of physical posture is quite important. So I would like to give you some instructions about that. To begin with, when you sit down, there is a sense of erectness. In particular, erectness of your head and your shoulders. It's as if you are being a great warrior and you have head and shoulders erect. That provides basic sense of being. With that established, then you feel the rest of your posture. The lower torso and where you are sitting. It is important to have a sense of your seat. You should have a good, solid seat on your zafu or on the floor, however you're sitting. It is as if you were riding a horse and you're mounted. Or it could be as if you are the Buddha himself, seated on a throne. It's that kind of attitude to your seat. So your neck should be flexible, your head and shoulders erect, and some sense of firm seat. There are two recommended hand positions. One is a somewhat complicated meditation mudra, which is done like that. Other one, which is highly recommended, is simply to place your hands on your thighs, as I'm doing. When you take your seat that way, there is already some sense of openness. And there's already some sense of projecting outward. So that's the physical posture which you could establish every time you sit down to meditate. Head and shoulders erect. Feel your lower torso. Hold your seat. And experience the natural openness of that posture. And in some sense, the whole thing is one unit. Whole thing, your whole body hangs together as one thing. Your eyes could be slightly downcast, perhaps 10 feet in front. And usually you don't particularly try to focus with your eyes. They don't have to be focused or unfocused, just rest them there in front. Your mouth could be slightly open so that breathing is balanced between your mouth and your nose. Or if you like, your mouth could be closed. Could be open as if saying, ah. There's a natural sense of breathing, in-breath and out-breath. The instruction is to follow the out-breath. The out-breath goes out, dissolves into the atmosphere. There's a gap. Then again, the out-breath goes out, dissolves into the atmosphere. Your in-breath comes in, but you don't have to take particular notice of that. Out-breath, dissolve. So that's extremely simple. When you do that, you find that thoughts arise, most likely. All kinds of irritating thoughts or interesting ones. Maybe you have great creative ideas for your poetry class, or you have good fundraising ideas for Naropa Institute, or you think of your date the previous night, or you think of what you're going to do after this. All of those are regarded as simply thoughts, thinking. Whatever it is thinking. It's not particularly important, not particularly significant as far as your discipline of sitting practice is concerned. So there's out-breath, dissolve. When you recognize thinking has carried you away, you label thinking to yourself and return to the out-breath. Thinking, return to the out-breath. So that's a very fundamental basic practice, such as has been taught in all Buddhist traditions. And it goes from the beginning stages of the path up through the end. Ordinarily, in this class will start with sitting meditation, which you are cordially invited to do. If for some reason you prefer not to sit, we ask you to wait until the class begins. You could wait outside, and the rest of the people in here could sit. So if you would like to have conversations, you could do it out there. Of full lotus, which is pretzel style and might be difficult for you. It's fine to sit simply, as I'm sitting here. It is fine to sit American Indian style, like this. In this case, your bottom is firmly planted on the center of the zafu. Your calves rest on your ankles. It is not necessary that your knees touch the floor. This is fine. The main point is some kind of erect posture with a firm seat, which could be relaxed and at the same time dignified. If you are new to sitting practice, you may wish to change the posture of your legs from time to time, and it's perfectly fine to do that. However, you should try to hold a single posture for perhaps 10 or 15 minutes, and not to just shift around as restlessness comes up. So it's important to sit through a certain amount of restlessness, but if you need to shift, shift.
Rinpoche was born in Tibet and was brought up from very early age as a teacher and holder of the lineages in two of the Tibetan traditions, the Kagyu lineage and the Nyingma tradition. He was abbot of Surmang monasteries in East Tibet, which was a very strong center of the Kagyu and Nyingma teachings. And his teachers were some of the most learned and skilled meditation teachers in Tibet of that time. In 1959, the situation in Tibet became impossible for the Buddhists there, and Rinpoche left and came to India along with many other lamas of that tradition. And after that, Buddhism in Tibet was basically wiped out. In India, he worked as a spiritual advisor of the young lama's home, an appointment that was given to him by the Dalai Lama, and he spent several years doing that, learning English and learning Hindi and learning about culture in India. Subsequently, he went to England under a fellowship called the Spalding Fellowship, and he began to study about Western culture at Oxford University. He studied philosophy and religion and art, and up until that time, he really hadn't systematically tried to find out about Western culture, but living in England for a number of years, he was a student and also started a meditation center where he began working with Westerners and teaching them meditation. In 1970, he came to the United States and founded Karme Churling, which at that time was called Tail of the Tiger, which is in Barnet, Vermont, a meditation center, which has, since that time, in the very beginning there were 4 people there, and now there's a community that can hold up to 150 people or so. He's established his major center in Boulder, and his work has continued since he came to the States. And the 2 major divisions of his work are Vajradhatu, which is an association of Buddhist churches. In other words, it's a religious organization. And Karma Dzong, which is the Buddhist community in Boulder, is under Vajradhatu. And on the other side, he's established Nalanda Foundation, which is an educational, non-sectarian, secular branch of his work. And Naropa Institute is part of that aspect of things. Naropa Institute being non-sectarian and offering all kinds of courses and things that have no direct relationship to Buddhism. He's going to be teaching the course with the Vajra regent, Ursel Tenzin, who has been a student of his since he first came to this country, and in 1976 was empowered as a lineage holder of the tradition, which means that he has the empowerment to carry on the teachings that Rinpoche received from his teacher. In Buddhism, there's one person who's chosen from the next generation of students to represent the tradition and be the main teacher. And the Vajra regent is that person. And the 2 of them are going to alternate with the Vajracharya Trungpa Rinpoche teaching Mondays and the Vajra regent on Thursdays. So, I think that's it.
Good evening. Welcome to this session of our study. And also seems that tonight's event is a further landmark of surviving the Naropa Institute, in fact, not more than surviving life in the world. That we are continuing our program delightfully, as we have done so in the past, and appreciate your participation This particular course that we are doing is based on, as you know, the contemplative practice of Buddhism. That is our theme, and hopefully we could make something out of it, something real, good, and worthwhile. I would like to also encourage you to take notes, if you like, as you come back next time or further, and it would be good to know the details that we might be discussing. And I also would like to make very clear that we will be going through a very practical aspect of Buddhist practice in this course. Very pragmatic and very workable, so that we could apply to our own individual lives, if possible. That is to say, there is encouragement of sitting practice meditation and also learning the basic Buddhist idea, concept, or we could say without a concept, whatever, of whatever the Buddha taught. And these informations that you are going to hear is not fake. And it is being practiced for a long time, and is still practiced, and it worked. And therefore, we are quite proud in presenting such fresh, new, but still very ancient. And you can appreciate that. You will understand them. Sometimes you may think you may not understand them, but just regard those as subconscious gossip, and just open your mind and listen and practice, so you will understand them. It is very simple, extremely simple. As opening remark, we could discuss what does mean by Dharma. As you know, it is spelled D-H-A-R-M-A, Dharma. In the Sanskrit words, language, it has all sorts of connotations. It means how to work things, how to go about doing things in such certain norm situation in the ordinary Dharma. Then there is also Dharma of transcending Dharma, which is how to work with the real truth. And the same as the Chinese term Fa, which meaning the way, instructions, how to go about. Sit up. That's good. Way and means how we could conduct ourselves. There could be several levels of that, obviously. The Dharma of washing dishes, Dharma of putting diapers on baby, or Dharma of meditating, Dharma of attainment of enlightenment. Those are all known as the Dharma's ways that we work with the situation. And Dharma of the Buddha Dharma we're talking about is Dharma that consists of a particular truth that's been told from teacher to student. Having such a truth being told to the teacher, from this teacher to the student, then student begin to find the effect of the Dharma is taking place in one's system. Reason why that is so is because Dharma is no longer a foreign entity. Dharma is something that you automatically have in you already, that the Buddha nature is in individual already. Therefore, when some truth connected with that be told to you, you begin to wake up accordingly. And you can't avoid it when the truth is heard, that you're bound to wake up. Using a slightly different analogy, for instance, if you try to keep a tiger or a lion as vegetarians, as they brought up as the puppies, but as soon as when they reach the real tigerhood and lionhood, they automatically want to eat meat, because that's their makeup. Similarly, that Dharma is told to you, although that you try to ignore it, try to seal off, but nevertheless, when the Dharma is told, then you're bound to wake up accordingly. So that's the basic point. And the meaning of the Dharma is also passionless. That is to say, when the truth is heard, the nature of the truth is without fixation on one's ego. That one has to loosen up as if best laxative system. And it's real because when the Dharma is told to you, it makes you to think twice about the samsaric world. Samsara is another word, which is meaning the ego's world of that ego fixation is involved altogether. So we are going to study that Dharma, of the Buddha Dharma, this point, and we could begin at the beginning, right at the beginning, which would seem to be the best way to do so, is that how to practice Dharma at the beginning at all. What's been told is you begin with your mind and your body, the conditions that you can hear the teaching and you can read and write and you can comprehend them properly. And way to do that is the practice of meditation. That is the only way where the attainment of enlightenment can be possible altogether. So, practice meditation is the only way, because practice of meditation allows ourselves to discover ourselves or non-existence for ourselves, whatever the case may be. And also practice of meditation allows us to relate with our world properly, fully. Relate with our sky, our earth, and our air that we breathe, so everything becomes workable in our universe, our life situations. Nothing has become a threatening or problematic situation at all. And practice meditation allows us to have a tremendous discipline, starting from doing nothing, which is basically the practice of meditation is actually act of doing nothing. And you will find active doing nothing is very hard work and very challenging. and very threatening in a lot of cases. The Buddha Dharma falls in 3 levels, as you know already, maybe. Number 1 is that of the Hinayana, or the lesser vehicle, of the direct path, a direct dealing with our mind and body. Number 2 is the Mahayana, which is expanded and benevolent approach. Number 3 is Vajrayana, that is transcending neurosis completely and feasting on them because of transcendence. So we are going through these 3 stages throughout this course, roughly speaking. And we will concentrate on the first yana, which is the Hinayana to begin with. Basic discipline, basic straightforwardness to our life, ourselves, our existence altogether. The root of confusion and also the root of chaos and neurosis are founded in our mind. That our mind projects first, and then out of that projection begin to come up with all sorts of hope and fear, praise and blame of all kinds of things. So we begin to divide our world into a hostile world, friendly world, and indifferences. And in turn we have fights, we have love affairs, then we ignore the rest of it. So our world is bounded in what's called the passion, aggression, and ignorance. In the samsaric world is constantly that way. That we, because of that, we never leave ourselves any room at all to breathe or sit for a moment to relax our breath. One moment of breath at all. So we are constantly driving on, and either praising or blaming something or rather, that there's no way that we can actually relax and to be ourselves, let alone find out not being, or egolessness goes beyond that level. So what we're trying to do at this point is to trying to find out by means of a practice of meditation that we could find out and work with those influx of situations of passion, aggression, and ignorance. How we can handle them, how we can actually work with them fully, thoroughly, by means of practice of meditation. And you might find that practice of meditation is something extraordinary. We have a magic on the spot, but that's not quite the case. Magic is on the spot. Maybe that is not the case. But however, we have to do it ourselves. And as you know, the path of Buddha Dharma is founded in a non-theistic discipline altogether. So therefore we do not look for any help from outside of ourselves. We work on ourselves directly. That is the merit and the preciousness and the truth of the Dharma altogether. So meditation falls into 2 categories, 2 types of situations of meditation. One is actual sitting practice of meditation, and the other one is what's known as the post-meditation discipline. That goes between your sitting period practices throughout your life. And it usually begins with the sitting practice of meditation is the first starter to begin with, that we find we have a body, mind, and we live, we breathe, we feel hot, cold, we see colors, we smell scents, we hear sounds. So this machinery of the body has to be trained along with mind together, so that body and mind can be synchronized together as a living Buddha principle, living wakefulness principle altogether. And in order to do that, to begin with, the basic technique or practice is known as shamatha discipline, which literally means development of peace. That is the core and heart of a Buddhist meditation practice altogether. I'm afraid it's very simple in this case. One has to develop a good posture, sitting on your cushion, and willing to synchronize your mind and the body together, which is a very important point. In the ordinary cases, that we are not willing to synchronize our mind and body together. Sometimes your mind stretches somewhere else, your body is short. And sometimes your body is so much speeded up, and our mind is short. So in this case, it had to be matched, as if your garment has outside and the lining. If they are not synchronized, you have a bad fit, tailored clothes. Fit together mind and body. And the way to do that is have a good posture and sitting practice fashion on your cushion, and have a very basic idea of sense of upliftedness when you sit. The tradition is that Buddha sat on a kusha grass mat with his posture upright and good head and shoulder, so there's a sense of body, head and shoulder, and sense of panorama involved. That's actually why your head is full. That's why you have a head, to experience the panorama. Otherwise you might become an animal, which is a definition of animal is that those who bow their heads, snuff round, therefore they are a definition of animal. And the difference between an animal and a human is that humans developed, fortunately, upright, opposed to walking on a four-legged situation. We walk on the two legs, which suggests that we could be upright and touch to the heaven. And the posture is extremely important. It is not purely a matter of a ceremony, but it is a matter of life and death from that point of view. Good posture, upright, which usually cuts through the depression before you sit in the sitting practice of meditation. Usually there's the questions, should I do it or shouldn't I do it? And you feel bad about it, you feel painful, and then you like a dog in the heat. And uprightness, correct posture, on the spot, makes you feel. Purusha is a Sanskrit word, means a good human. Real human, Purusha posture. And one's buttock should be placed on properly on your cushion so that you are not pushing too forward or you're being pushed back too hard. So there is a real good seat on your cushion, as if you're a good rider on horseback. And with that sense of presence and that kind of basic setup, then we begin to understand, realize how Buddha did it as well. And we begin to sit and get ready for it. And when we get ready for it, then we begin to work with our breath. And the breath concept is a very interesting one. It is half mind and half body situation in which we can actually connect with our mind and body completely. That breath is regarded as the fickleness of our mind as well, and also breath is regarded as our solid body situation as well. So there's a connection between the breath and the mind and the body put together. So therefore, the breath is chosen as the only way and a technique to work with our breath. And that's the best medium because it moves in and out, and also it remains steady, and also it reacts to a state of mind. If you're too angry or otherwise, whatever you might experience in your emotionalism, the breath is connected with that. And whether you have eaten too much or eaten too little, or whether you had too much exercise or relaxed situations, the breath relates with that. So the idea is going along with whatever breath is there in your sitting practice is to prove to be an important point, very important point. And the idea of shamatha discipline altogether is that development of peace is not necessarily the tranquility or euphoric experience of anything at all. It's just simply feeling things are there, therefore you do it. You have breath coming out, breath going in, coming out, with your good posture. And your mind is kept on some kind of leash, but at the same time not restrained or not chained together particularly, but your mind is on the leash rather than chained. Thought might occur, middle of your breath, and look at them, see them, and see them as thought. There could be all sorts of thoughts. Ranging from a wide range, buying new socks, to want to kill your father, or mother, or would burn down the New York City. Anything. Wide range. But none of them are particularly shocking. You know yourself so well, so therefore you can do it. And at this point, nothing is shocking for you because you know yourself so well. Not only that, but any thought is occurred is not regarded as good thought or bad thought as such particularly. They are regarded as a thinking process. Just like in the sky, deep blue sky, you see mosquitoes fly, and birds fly, and fighter bombers fly. They are just flying in the sky. Thoughts are thoughts. Thinking process, very simple. And come back to your breath. And one of the traditional emphasis is putting more reference to the out breath, basically. So there's a sense of releasing, projecting out, An in-breath is regarded as a waiting period. So you have a expansion, waiting, expansion, and waiting situation. So, basic Hinayana discipline of that kind of shamatha discipline is making things so detailed, very ordinary. And walking practice meditation also goes with that kind of situation. Is your right, left foot, heel, sole, toe, touching on the ground. Very basic and ordinary. And there's no particular religious flavor about that at all. Its whole thing is just how, for the first time, we could experience the real world we ignored so much. We've been garbaging ourselves by reading newspapers and televisions and Time magazines and drinking Kool-Aids and all the rest of it. We waste our time so long. And finally, there's no spiritual miracles coming to you, but what we have is the best way that we can relate with. And that is maybe sacred. That is actually sacred. So we can actually do it and work it. And we don't have to borrow or build up anything. That what we have is a mind, and we have a body, we have a thoughts, we have a breath, and we have our buttocks, we have our head and shoulder. Already we don't have to borrow or buy from anybody. And we have it already. So we are so well equipped. And why, in the name of heaven and earth, we can take advantage of that. So that seems to be the basic point of the all, that taking advantage of what you have already and doing it on the spot. And that is the development of peace, what's called. It's peace because it is not based on the struggle of any kind. And it is not based on any kind of one-upmanship of any kind at all. And it is not based on the speed. And it is, in fact, a way of slowing down the process of struggle and all the rest of it. So that seems to be the starting point of a shamatha principle of quietening the mind in the name of the Dharma, which means passionlessness, non-struggle, no aggression. How to be a Purusha. If you have any questions, you're welcome.
Rinpoche, when you were talking about the out-breath and being half mind and half body, I was a little bit unclear about that. Is it more in the sense of light touch, or?
I think so. And also when you breathe, it is half mind and half body in any case. Part of the connection with the mind can relate with the body is by means of breath, generally speaking.
But I thought it was more in the sense of being fully with your mind or fully with
Fully
your
what?
fully with your mind or fully with your body. I'm just a little confused about.
Well, you can't be fully with your mind without a body.
Yeah. So it's half
Unless
and half.
you died. Yeah.
I see. So it's half and half.
So it has a connection, right?
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rinpoche, I have a problem. When I meditate, I'm quite aware of my thoughts, and there are a lot of thoughts I don't like.
A lot of what?
A lot of thoughts.
You don't like?
Which I don't like.
Uh-huh.
And then after meditation, I'm afraid to manifest I'm holding back my energy, and I'm afraid to let go. And could you say something to that?
Well, I think it doesn't really matter whether you like them or not. They're your thoughts. So you can't separate from your nose to your mouth. You may not like your nose, but you have your nose. They're all thoughts, just thoughts. It's yours. You have it.
But does it mean to make friends with oneself too?
Yeah, sure. That's why you have to make friends with your nose.
My nose?
If your nose is hurt, then you probably make friend with your nose. Very straightforward. Any thoughts are thoughts. Very straightforward. They are thinking process. And we don't try to put judgmental situations on anything that comes up with the mind. We are not practicing morality of separating good to evil, in this case particularly. We are just trying to understand who we are, what we are. Very straightforward. That also we are trying to find out what could be acceptable to us. How can we relate with ourselves? Very simply. And it's quite different from the Spanish Inquisition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank heavens.
I had a question about the mind and body becoming more synchronized. Are we beginning to recognize that they're already synchronized, or are we somehow starting to create something new?
We have to create it somewhat, but on the basis of that, there could be possibilities of them synchronizing in any case. But
without practice, you mean?
No, but realizing our perversion. Our perversion, without practice, usually don't synchronize, you see. If there's no practice, they don't synchronize, but they should, however.
That's the perversion, that they're not synchronized?
That's right. And practice does bring them together, because you don't have to run ahead of anything. You just sit and you do it.
I see. Thank you.
Try it. Very straightforward.
Rinpoche, would another definition of an animal be relating or being fully with your body as opposed to being fully with your mind?
Another definition?
Another definition of an animal. You gave one definition earlier. Another definition might be being fully with your body. 100% with your body.
You mean another animal?
And
well, I don't know. I suppose something like a cow or snake has nose first. Dogs have a nose first.
What kind of mind would they?
Purely led by, without head and shoulder. Sort of crawling.
Thank you.
That's perfect. Does it mean anything to you?
Well, just when you said that being dead might be relating fully with your mind,
Yeah.
I just wonder what being fully with your body might be.
Yeah.
So it just brought to mind it might
Yeah.
be.
Well, some animals are pretty good. In spite of without head and shoulder, they have the spark and the electric surge. But not quite up to the level of human situation of having head and shoulders. Gentleman over there? Sorry, it's a lady.
Rinpoche, you said that the basis of neurosis was a quality of mind, and particularly projections of mind. My question is, if there are no projections, what could be seen?
See much better. Much, much better. So we don't have to fight over anything. It's very clear perception. Without any projections. You see what is there. Very straightforward.
Well, there is some notion that the world is created by mind.
Well, it is unfortunate that the world is created by mind. Hopefully, if there's any way that we could work, that the world could be created by beyond mind, it would be much better. But we have to solve those problems, and we don't seem to have any alternatives at this point. And we're trying to work towards that. And there is a way, and we know that there is such process that world could be created by beyond mind. It's been done.
Well, I'm curious to find out about it. Let's see.
Well, you better stick around.
Sir, you used the word Purusha, and I've just heard it before being used in a theistic Hindu sense of Purusha and Prakriti. Could you explain your use of the term, please?
Well, that means a real person. Purusha means a real person. And born nobly. The idea is somebody can actually relate it with the real world, which is could be quite close to the idea for warrior principle. And somebody who can feel and experience and hear the real right sound and taste good food, smell the real thing, and perceive the real world. And purify the person, completely purify the person from the obstacles, whatever.
Thank you, sir.
Rinpoche, I've heard that in regards to the practice of meditation, that when there's the experience of thinking, that one is not fully with the breath, and yet at the same time,
Fully what?
fully with the breath,
Mm-hmm.
and yet at the same time, I've heard that I've been told that it is not proper to relate with thoughts by cutting them off. That's not developing full relationship either.
Just thoughts, then come back to breath. Thoughts. Look at them, see them as thought, come back to your breath. It's very gentle. We don't have to regard it as a battle.
Is it natural for there to be a continual oscillation between thinking, breathing, thinking, breathing?
Well, in a 1 hour sitting, you could have 60 times. But constantly coming back to your breath is important. So you are not expected to have a lengthy, ideal session particularly. But your idea is to come back, have a discipline altogether, come back. That's important.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, maybe we could close this point. Ladies and gentlemen, I would very much like to encourage you to practice and study. Your studentship, scholarship will be based on a further understanding of what we are doing. So if you have no idea what we are doing, we may not have any scholarship at all. So this particular course is a very tricky one, therefore. And it is necessary for you to experience some of it so that we can discuss and you might understand more if you actually experience something of that nature. So I would like to strongly